Hi, in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at finding the distance from a point to a line. When finding how far it is from a single point to a line, we always want the shortest distance. So if I think about this cute little picture of this little mouse that's trying to get to this cheese stick, which is going to be the shortest way for this mouse to get to the cheese stick? If it goes to one of the ends, that's going to be a further distance to travel than if I go straight perpendicularly. Notice that little box there? That means I have a right angle right there. So if we go perpendicular towards the cheese stick, perpendicular means intersecting at a 90-degree angle, this one's going to be my shortest distance for the mouse to get to the cheese. Okay? So the shortest distance will always be the perpendicular distance. Remember, the symbol for perpendicular is the upside down T, and that means we're traveling towards the line at a 90-degree angle. Okay, so we're going to use graphs to help us find the perpendicular distance from a point, in this case the mouse, to a line, in this case the cheese. Okay, so here's my first example. Find the distance between M, -1, 5, and a line that contains C at 0, -2, and H, the point 6, 6. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to graph point M, -1, 5. -1, 5. So this is point M. Okay, then I want to graph the line that contains the point 0, -2, and 6, 6. So 0, -2, 0, -2 is the point C, and then 6, 6 is the point H. Okay, so here is my cheese stick, and it says it's a line, so really it would continue, right, on both ends. And then there's my point. The closest distance is going to be the perpendicular distance. So to find the perpendicular distance, I want to think about the slopes, because I can find perpendicular slopes. Let's look at the slope for this line here. So using these 2 points, remember to find our slope, we subtract our y's on top and we subtract the x's on the bottom. Always start with the second y and then the first y. So my second y, I'm going to do 6 minus, and then my first y is a -2. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom with the x's, starting with the second one. My 6 minus 0. So my original slope for this cheese stick, my slope is 6 plus 2 over 6 minus 0, which is just 6. This reduces 8 over 6. They're both divisible by 2, so this will be a 4 and this will be a 3. So my slope is up 4 over 3. Up 4 over 3. And you can see we land right on the line. We could even go back down 4, back 3, if we want to make sure that line is nice and straight. Okay? So then we want to know what the perpendicular distance is. So that means I want the perpendicular slope. Okay? My perpendicular slope is going to be opposite. So if this is positive, this will be negative. And then 4 over 3 is going to be the reciprocal, 3 over 4. So then what I do is I start at my mouse, okay, the point, and I'm going to go a slope of -3/4 until I hit the cheese. So down -3/4, so down 3 over 4. So I want to know, what is this distance right here? This makes a 90-degree angle here. Okay? To do this, I have 2 options. I can find this coordinate, 3, 2. It's the point 3, 2, where we intersect. And I could use the distance formula between -1, 5 and 3, 2. A second method, the one I'm going to show you today, is thinking way back to middle school geometry and using Pythagorean Theorem. So if I were to make this into a little right triangle, so all I did was from M, I came straight down and then over. So I've got a right triangle here. I can do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Because this is a little right angle right here. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. My a, 1, 2, 3. So let me write this down. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. My a, 1, 2, 3. I have to go 3 boxes. Plus my b, 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, is going to equal c squared. So 3 squared is 9, 3 times 3. 4 squared is 16, equals c squared. 9 plus 16 is 25, equals c squared. And then to get rid of the square, because we don't want the square, we just want c, right? To get rid of the square, I'm going to square root, right? Because square roots and squares, we learned in Algebra 2, they cancel each other out. So the square root of 25, in Algebra 2, we talked about when you take the square root of something, you get both the positive and the negative version. But in geometry, we're only looking at the distance, and distance can't be negative. So we're only going to be looking at the positive version of c. So the distance from the mouse to the cheese is 5 units. Okay? Let's look at another example. Find the distance between M, 1, 1, and a line that contains the points 2, 4, and 5, 1. Okay? All right, so when I look at this one, my M is at 1, 1. 1, 1, there's my mouse. And the line, the cheese, goes through 2, 4, and 5, 1. So 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 is point C, and then 5, 1 is point H. Okay, the first thing I want to do is know what my slope is from C to H. So I can use my slope formula. My M equals, starting with y, the second y, 1 minus the first y. And then my x's, the second one minus the first one. 1 minus 4 is a negative 3. 5 minus 2 is a positive 3. So negative over positive is negative. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So my slope is 1, and I can see, or negative 1, so I can see I'm going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, or up 1, back 1, up 1, back 1. Okay? I want to figure out which point the mouse wants to go to along this line, which one is going to be the closest to the mouse. Okay? So my perpendicular slope is going to equal, if this is a negative, my perpendicular slope is going to be positive, and 1 is really 1 over 1, and when you flip that over, it's still 1 over 1, 1. So I'm looking at a positive 1 slope, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So here is my perpendicular distance to the cheese stick. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm just going to come out from M and then up to the line. Okay, so that way I can do my a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A, I had to go across 2 boxes. B, 1, 2 boxes, equals c squared. And it's 2 diagonal boxes, but you can't count the boxes diagonally, right? We're not going to get an answer of 2. 2 squared plus 2 squared is not going to equal 2 squared. So let's see, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 2 times 2 is 4, equals c squared. So 4 plus 4 is 8, equals c squared. But I don't want c squared, I want just c, so I'm going to square root both sides. And again, we normally would get in every other class, we'd get positive and negative answers. But when I do the square root of 8, in geometry, for this picture, I'm just going to want the positive answer because we're looking for a distance. The square root of 8 is 2.82843 in my calculator. And remember, we're going to round to 1, 2, 3 decimal places after the decimal. So I look at the fourth one to see if I have to round up. Since it's a 4, I don't. So my answer is, to get to the cheese, it is 2.828 units. Okay? Alright, so that's where I'm going to stop in this video. The next video is going to give you 2 more examples of finding the distance from a point to a line. Thank you so much for watching.